So welcome to another episode. So today we have Santos Bonacci on, who is a syncretist. So welcome to today's show.
Thank you, brother.
So just for those who aren't aware, before we sort of dive deep into it, what exactly is syncretism?
You can look up the meaning in Wikipedia for all the listeners. It's the ability or the science of merging and interconnecting all of the sciences, mythologies, religions, teachings, languages, etc. There is a saying, and many people often say it without really realizing what they're saying, that everything is connected. There are no coincidences. Therefore, the whole mental thought structure of the universe is all one. And so there are many, many separate sciences that are taught to people, some based on numbers. That's how computer tech guys make programs, numbers. Some sciences are based on electromagnetism, others on whatever they call it, quantum physics. There's all these fields, and there's an infinite number of sciences. And syncretism shows how they are all absolutely connected. Nothing is separate. There's no separation between the sciences. Hence, we don't have to be killing each other because someone else has a different religion to ours. Because it's not a different religion.
That's so interesting.
It can't be a different religion. It all belongs to the same universe, the one mind of God.
It's interesting because ironically, whether it's synchronicity or whatever, I'm writing another book or a trilogy of philosophy books at the minute. And something that came up earlier today, and it just happened that I was writing that part of the book on the day that I'm speaking to you. It's kind of strange. Aldous Huxley, the famous writer of Brave New World, talked about perennial philosophy, where, as you said, there's a synergy between different religions or ways of thinking that have came to the same conclusion that we are drops of water in the ocean, where we are part of consciousness rather than separate. So is that sort of what you're alluding to, that you look at the commonalities between things like a kind of Venn diagram and say, actually, they all this overlaps in this particular area, and actually that's what I'm interested in?
Absolutely. That's what syncretism is. It is the only inclusive universal system. All other systems are exclusive and divided. Even Christianity, right? You get Christians who say, oh, Jesus is the Saviour, only through Jesus, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this many times. Well, which Jesus? The Jehovah's Witness Jesus? The Catholic? The Northern Baptists or the Southern Baptists? The Mormons? The Presbyterians? The Methodists? Because there's a lot of fake, phony 501c3 corporate registered churches doing business on this most famous name in history, Jesus Christ. And they've all got donation boxes, they've all got trusts and funds, and they're all owned by people who are part of what we call the Illuminati families. The Jehovah's Witnesses are owned by the Russell Trust and the Rothschilds, Chase Manhattan and JP Morgan Bank. The Mormons are owned by the very, very noble Smith family. They are making a shit ton of money with their people trafficking and their pedophilia cases that they're fighting in court, just like the Jesuits, just like the Catholics, just like the Jehovah's Witnesses. It seems to me that they like to fiddle with little children in those churches. And yet they are exclusive. But already there exists an inclusive system separate from their deluded, deranged stupidity, which exists and which is known by intelligent people who are way, way better people in their hearts and in their minds than 99.99999% of people who go to churches. And they are the ones who have the truth and look in at this exclusive Jew club or Christian club or Muslim club, and they're all just based on the perennial science anyway. So they're dividing something pure, making it impure, claiming that it's separate and different, and this one's right and that one's wrong, and this one's half right and half wrong, and backwards and reverse, and everyone's criticising each other, and the perennial philosophy will always be.
It's a case of divide and conquer in some respects, but just coming back to what you said about the rings, etc. It was something that people like yourself and David Icke, Alex Jones, etc. were talking about 10, 15, 20 years ago, and now obviously with the Epstein files, etc. Mainstream or people in the who didn't think this was true are now starting to realise that these things do happen behind the scenes, and actually maybe the world isn't as righteous as what we maybe initially thought.
Yeah, the organised clubs, they are all corrupt, and they're all deceivers. They pretend to be what they say they are. You see? That's how they can get away with things they do behind the scenes. The Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, and everything. All of their organisations are just a facade for people trafficking and indoctrinating people, teaching them to be separate from the others. The others are not as good as you. They're not going to the kingdom of God. They're liars. You need to read only our literature. Otherwise, you'll be deceived. Well, I don't understand how that works, because they're all. Let's make a comparison. I speak Spanish, I speak Italian, I speak French, Portuguese, and English. I don't believe in any of those languages. I just speak them. Is one truer than another? So when I'm speaking Portuguese, do I tell the Portuguese people that all the other languages are false and they will lead you to the devil? Spanish is evil. And then when I speak to my Spanish friends in Spanish, do I criticise English? It's ludicrous, because when you go to the source of these churches and their books, you'll find that they're all spinning the same yarn. It's the same story. The same gods turn up everywhere, just under different names. Jesus was Horus in Egypt for thousands of years before it was in Rome. You know, Capelli, it was here in the Hopis, called him Capelli. I think that's the name. Krishna in India for millions of years before Roman Christianity, corporate Christianity that is. True Christianity has always existed. It's the religion of the universe. It's just the perennial science. That's what Christianity is. But do you get that at church? No. No, you get that from the scriptures, the holy scriptures, and you get that from what you either call intuition or what they call God's Spirit. Oh, God's Spirit will lead you to understand the Bible. Well, it will if you've got it. You know, if you're pure, if you're clean. But if your motives are false motives, then the fruits that are produced will be rotten. And all of the fruits that all of the religions produce are rotten. All the members that belong to their churches are rotten people. You know, not all of them. I mean, there's some good people there, and they're so sincere, but they're so brainwashed at the same time. Those ones there, I'm sure that they'll see the light soon and get out of Babylon the Great, get out of her, my people, before you share with her in her sins. Babylon the Great is the babble or the confusion of all these religions talking in your ear, telling you, come here, come to my church on this corner of the street, not that corner. Those ones there, the Methodists, oh, you'll go to hell. And they're not Christian. And yet there's good people in their church on the other side of the street, as there are in the church on this side of the street. So the point is, you don't need to go to a structure to worship God.
I agree. I say this to people as well. It's like, well, why would you go to a man-made structure? Why would God want you to go to a man-made structure to pray when you can go out into nature, which is sort of, God's church, if you like, in that respect. You're more in touch with the universe than you are, sitting in a brick wall, I suppose. But one thing that you said was about confusion. You've got some views regarding the Bible not being literal, but actually having an underlying semantic uh, allegories, if you like. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Bible is a literary work. It's not a literal work per se. There are some things that are literal, like for instance, if Jesus says, first of all, Jesus is the archetype of the perfect man based on universal reality. It's not based on one individual, one person. If he says, treat others as you would like others to treat you, well, that's pretty much literal, right? But the characters therein, in the scriptures, they are not literal individuals who have lived in history. They are archetypal people, and those people are in you. You know, Abraham is your cerebrum. Jesus is the blood, the soul in you. Christ is your nervous system. It's all biochemical. All these characters are stories that make up your story. So when you read the Bible, that's your story. You're reading about Abraham and Jesus and Moses and Noah. But they are parts of you. Think about it. Where is Noah right now? Well, he's in the pages of the Bible, and that's where he will always be. And the same with all those characters. So the literary aspect of the Bible is many levels, many layered ways of understanding the Bible. The myth contains more truth in one phrase than volumes and volumes of books. That's why the Bible is written in such a concise, or should I say, compact way. Very, very short truths that can be expanded and interpreted millions and millions of ways. In fact, that's what's going on. That's why you have all these 30,000 registered Christian denominations. 30,000? Isn't Christ supposed to be united? That's pretty divided to me. To be understood at a deeper level. Because when you take it literally, that's the milk of God's word. I can't hear you.
It just froze for a second. So you just want to repeat the
Yeah.
last 10 seconds or so?
What was I saying?
So you're just talking about obviously the Bible and how the milk of, because it just froze for a second.
Right. So these people that are taking things literally and interpreting them their way and making it doctrine are limiting themselves, because there are many ways to interpret the scriptures. That's the beauty of it. It's infinite. It's infinite for your benefit. So these people are doing what the Apostle Paul said. They are drinking the milk of the word. They are not eating the meat of the word. They are not becoming mystics and spiritualists. They are stuck in the psychic and the hylic frame of mind, which is carnal, and they think they're spiritual. They haven't ascended into the divine mind. We have two minds. We have a divine nature, we have an animal nature. It's a no-brainer, right? So how to occupy more of the divine? Well, by not limiting yourself to the scriptures and your interpretation and making them doctrine. Yes, the scriptures are all true. There's nothing false in the scriptures at all. They are divine works. And it is all true. But the truth doesn't finish with your interpretation and your doctrine. It expands forever. Every single verse of the Bible expands forever, and that's how you grow spiritually.
But what about the sort of astrological and astronomical interpretations? Is that something that most people are aware of? And if not, what are those interpretations?
No, most people are not aware of those interpretations, but astrology is just the science of electromagnetism. Everything is electromagnetic waves. So if you're waving, and this cup is waving, and your computer is waving, and the sun is waving, and everything is waves, which we've gone beyond the point of having to believe in that. We know that. Quantum physics teaches it. Great masters of theology teach it. The Greeks used to teach it. Everything is atoms, which are waves, torus fields, electromagnetic waves. So what's an atom? It's electromagnetic. So what's a mountain? It's electromagnetic. A cloud? It's electromagnetic. So astrology is the map of how that wave works. Every wave goes like this. Up, goes back to the middle, down, goes back to the middle. And it has a wave amplitude, which is either a big one, like red light, or a short wave amplitude, which is blue light. Blue lasers being hundreds of times stronger than red lasers, because the shorter the wave, the stronger, right? So astrology teaches you about the different wave frequencies that are affecting you daily. So that's why you need to know, where is your sun? Well, my sun is in Aries. In my chart, I was born on March the 24th. I belong to the Aries frequency. And what is that? Well, fire. And what's fire? Well, it's plasma. So all Aries individuals operate out of the frequency of plasma. Right? the four, you've got earth, water, air, and fire. Well, that's in quantum physics, that's solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Solid earth, liquid water, air, gas, fire, plasma. So, see how wonderful the science is? So now in a family you have all people born in different signs, because the sun on the ecliptic changes every 30 days. It changes season, because there are 12 seasons every year, you see? That's why they mistakenly call them the 12 months of the year. Well, there can never be 12 months in a year. There are 13 months every year. That's why we have weeks. You know, seven days a week. Well, 4 of those make 28 days. That's a month. And 20 of those fit inside of a year. 13 of those 28 days, 13 fit inside of the year. So there's the big problem we have. They've confused people with saying that we have 12 months. We don't. We have 12 seasons. We have 12 posts. We have 12 signs. We have 12 conditions. They've simplified it really easy by saying spring, summer, autumn, winter. But spring has 3 different phases. We know that. We know that the start of summer is cooler than the middle of summer, which is hotter than the end of summer. But it's all summer. And every year it's the same. The start's cooler, the middle is really hot, and then it gets cooler again. So summer is not just one lump of one condition. It has to be divided in 3. It has to have a cooler part, it has to warm up and peak, and then it has to be cooler, but it's still in the same quadrant from June to September. It's still in that same quadrant. And so knowing this, knowing that Cancer is the cool part of summer, Leo is the warm part of summer, and Virgo is the finishing, moving toward autumn part of summer, then you can understand the condition of or the propensities and the inclinations and the characteristics of your children properly. You can understand why your Gemini child is always talking and always wants to have fun.
On that basis, then, I'm a Libra. What would my characteristics be? October.
Intellectual, balanced, very arbitrary, just, fair, humanitarian. It's an air sign, so it's spiritual, so it's very mental. Librans are good partners. They partner up well with people. You know, that's a characteristic. It's a baseline characteristic of Libra. Librans have the most symmetrical faces. You can tell by looking at them. See, my head is narrow and long. That's a typical Aries head. We don't have round heads. That's the next sign, Taurus. Square heads, like the bull. And then Gemini's heads go like this. They're all over the place. They're one eye's down here, one eye is up there. The nose goes that way, the chin goes that way. You know, they've got 2 faces. They've got the skewed look, the skewed facial look. Okay, Cancer, again, you have the round moon face. Some of them have really, really round moon heads, and then others have real concave heads, like the crescent moon, like a skinny but a crabby looking look, right? Leo, nice square lion face, heart-shaped heads. I've got a Leo rising, so I've got a mixture of Leo and Aries. The rising sign must be considered with the sun sign. And sometimes I even guess the rising sign and not the sun sign, because the rising sign is more prominent. See, if you were born by day, well, then your sun sign will be more prominent. And I was born by day, so my Aries look is stronger than my Leo ascendant, right? Now, if you were born by night, your rising sign will be more evident. So there are two types of people, diurnals and nocturnals. If you were born by night, you are a nocturnal. That means the sign that is rising in the east when you were born, in my case, Leo, the lion, was rising when I was born, and the sun was up, still about to set. It was 4:19 p.m, so the sun was over there setting, and Leo was rising, and I popped out into the world. And so the sun's up there, I was born by day. Therefore, Aries is going to be stronger. And you can see, if you know what you're looking for, you can see that I am of the tribe of Aries, the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? If I were born by night, I would have more of a heart-shaped face and less this narrow, martial. You can see that an Aries, the Aries face is very angular. You know, it's contoured. Whereas Taurus, you see, it's a more passive-looking face. Ours is more aggressive. The Aries look, the Ran. Whereas the bull, Taurus ruled by Venus, it has a more copper. My energy is iron and gold. That's the two energies of Aries. The energy of Taurus is silver and copper, so they're softer. Iron is way more aggressive. You can see the difference clearly. If you've got two children, one's an Aries and one's a Taurus, you'll see it. The Aries child will have iron characteristics. Martial arts, activity, rushing around, busy, more aggressive. The Taurian will have more passive traits. And they'll have softer features, way softer. Their eyes are way, way more. They've got the beautiful cow eyes, the bovine eyes. Whereas Aries' eyes are fiery, like they're deep, they're penetrating. So are the water signs, right? So your eyes would have. If people looked into your eyes, they would connect with your spirituality, your mind, because that's what's coming out of your eyes, which are portals. So you can look into someone's eyes and you can see their soul.
What about numerology as well as astrology and astronomy, etc.? Do you think numerology has its place as well, or the spelling of something? Do you think that overlays with astronomy and astrology as well, or they are separate, or maybe untrue?
No, they are connected. See, Aries is the number one. So
Yeah,
so
the
that's
months that
why.
it used to be, April used to be the start of the year, didn't it? And
Yeah,
that's why
April
April
1st.
Fools. Yeah, April Fools. That's why I say April Fools, isn't it?
Right, so what happened was, up until the 1700s, Rome was trying to convert the world to make January 1st in Capricorn the start of the year, based on the solstice 10 days earlier. on December the 21st, right? So it's all based on the tropical points, the equinoxes. So January 1st is based on the solstice, the winter solstice, whereas the true start of the year should be Easter, not Christmas. The Easter, Aries, not the goat, the lamb. This is the war of the sheep and the goats, Capricorn and Aries, because Capricorn rules the solstices and Aries rules the equinoxes. So Aries is 1. So me, I'm a 1. Everything about me is 1. My baseline nature. So I unify things. I'm a syncretist. I see the oneness in everything. That's how we are. And that's why a lot of people don't like Aries, because they know this. They know that they are the number 1 because they're not divided. Taurus is divided. Taurus wants things. They're more materialistic. Aries is not as materialistic as Taurians. They seek spiritual pursuits more. They go to war. They're much more they're much more inclined to join the military than a Taurian, and to do martial arts. Right? So Taurians, well, what are they known for? Well, for being materialistic, because they're the number 2. So suddenly you've gone from 1 to 2. That's the biggest jump in the numbers, from 1 to infinity. From 1 to infinity, the biggest jump you'll ever make is from 1 to 2. Doubling. Doubling never occurs. After 2, there's no more doubling. It starts diminishing all the way, fractally, forever. So here's a good point to make an argument for astrology and numerology. The difference between an Aries and a Taurus. And if you're listening now and you've got a brother who's Aries and a brother who's Taurus, you'll get it, what I'm about to say. So the Taurians will be looking for leisure, pleasure, food. They love to go out and eat. Aries don't want to go out and have dinner, When an Aries gets called, oh, we're going to have dinner, and they're like, yeah, that's food. That's not going to pull me, food. What about something exciting, But a Taurian will be like, for sure, I'm down for that. Right? And this is so obvious now that every man and his dog now on Instagram and Twitter, wherever you go, you see people talking about, oh, why are Aries like this and like that? And Taurians are always like this and like that. And Geminis are always doing this and always doing. Why? And they're all agreeing and they're all getting it right just by observation. It's a science. So if you just observe these things, you'll see that it is based on science. It's not woo-woo. It's the people who criticize science are people who know nothing about it, which is the epitome of stupidity. You criticize something you know nothing about. You were told that it's from the devil in church. You went to school, you were told it's a pseudoscience. And then you went to a function, and everyone laughed at astrology and making jokes about it. Oh yeah, what about the funny, weird people who do astrology and they think it's something and whatever. Well, they're just showing their ignorance, because they're just showing that they don't even know themselves. You see? Just in 1 minute, I explained a lot about you. That you Librans look after the underdog. They're more inclined to be lawyers. There are more lawyers in the sign of Libra than any other sign. How does that happen? Look it up. You can look it up. For all the non-believers and all the people who are still on the fence, or who don't know anything about astrology, or who want to know about astrology, you now can learn it really, really quickly. Right? Just put in punch in something like, which sign of the zodiac is more inclined to be suicidal? Well, it's Gemini. More suicides happen from that sign than any other sign.
They
I
did
won't go
something like
into...
this with murderers as well, and serial killers. They were all like one of three signs or something. I had a look at it. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, that's mad.
yeah,
Whether
Sagittarius.
is it coincidence or not? Or is it causation? Is it correlation? It's a mad one, isn't it? Because it depends on people's belief systems as to whether they think, okay, that confirms it, or whether it's just skeptical and things like
No,
that.
no. See, now we have databases. Now it's no longer in the opinion realm anymore. Now it's a fact. You can search hospital databases, police, court records, and everything like that, and you'll find that most suicides happen on a Monday. More suicides happen on a Monday morning than any other time. Just look it up.
Is that just because of work though? Like you're worried about work and stressed about work, or is
No,
there another
no, it's
reason?
because Monday is moody. It's ruled by the moon. Every day is ruled by the moon, by one of the seven planets. And they are all absolutely, absolutely defined. I was born on a Sunday, and if you know what to look for, you can tell I'm a Sunday-born individual. I was born on a Sunday. And you can see it. Right? I can go into that, but I want to stick to what I'm talking about. So, if that is true, that each day has a different energy, then it's true that the month is 28 days, and it's true that there are 13 months a year. And then it's true that both the sun and the moon are important in astrology. But we honour both of them because we know there are weeks. Well, that's the moon. And we know that there are 12 signs. That's the sun. Right? So the sun is doing the 12 signs. The moon is doing the 13 months. It's a dance that they're doing together. They do this dance together. And we can't escape the dance because it is a fact throughout all cultures, and hence dispelling all the naysayers who say, oh, the Gregorian calendar it's wrong, it's all over the place, and it doesn't work, and it's fake, and it's... Well, no, it's not. Because I was born on a Sunday, and I've got the Sunday-born qualities. Period. And if you were born on a Tuesday, and if you look up what it means to be a Tuesday, you will see that you have those qualities, which means that the Gregorian calendar is 100% correct. Because I was born on a Sunday, and I have all the Sunday characteristics. Period. I don't have any Monday traits.
I think I
I
was
don't
born.
have Tuesday.
I think I was born on a Saturday, but one of the things I want to say is with the 13 thing, is that why they portray that as being unlucky, and why they portray 7 as being lucky? Because obviously casinos say 7 is lucky, lucky number 7. I've heard 7 is unlucky. And the 13 they say is unlucky, when actually apparently that's quite lucky, and maybe they have pulled the wool over our eyes, saying there's 12 months, as you said, rather than the 13, where every Monday is the 1st, every Sunday is the 28th and the 7th, etc. Do you think that's the case, where they've pulled the wool over our eyes and lied to us and inverted things? 13 is unlucky. Actually, no, it's a lucky number. I think in Fibonacci sequence, even plants and flowers follow that 13 petals and things like that. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 13 is one of the crucial Fibonacci numbers. So you've got 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. It's the 7th. There you go. So it's the 7th number in the Fibonacci sequence, the golden mean section, right? So why do people think it's unlucky? Well, because it reduces to 4. And 4 is the cross of death. See, I was baptized into this body from spirit, come out of my mother's womb, and when I stand up and do this, I'm in the sign of a cross. That's 4. Right? You spread your legs, that's 5 now. The 5 fingers. But when you put them together, your anatomy is your tomb. You have an anatomy. Well, an atom is a tomb. So you have been entombed and baptized in earthly elements. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Right? So that letter T represents the number 4, which is 13, 3 plus 1. And that 4, when you stand up and open your arms, that your body and that shape, that 4ness, means the death of your spirit into the life of your body, which is symbolized as a death. We are not alive, we are dead symbolically, poetically. Life will come alive when we ascend these dying bodies, when we break free from these mortal structures. Okay? So that's why it's unlucky. But is it unlucky? No. It's also lucky. See, most people know that 13 is lucky because 4 is very, very powerful. There are 4 elements, right? Physical elements. Essentially, there are 5. The 5th element is ether, the quintessence. And ether produces plasma. So ether is magnetic and plasma is electric. So all the 4 elements, they're just electricity. Magnetism. So, in fact, your hand describes this. The thumbs up, that's ether. That's fire. Ooh. Why do people hate it when you do? What if you went like this to someone? You are an interesting... Yeah, people wouldn't be so offended. Or if someone said, hey, you... It's not so offensive, but as soon as you do that in someone's nose, it kind of worries them, doesn't it? And then when you do that... And then when you put your ringer on that finger... Why do you put your ringer on that finger?
It goes to the heart.
Hey,
Goes to the
water.
heart.
Emotions. So if you've got ether, fire, air, water, earth. That's why when you do this mudra, you are earthing. You're making a short circuit here. Right? If you want emotional clarity, that's the finger. Where you got your wedding ring on. Water, emotions. When you do that to someone, that's air, that's mental, that's the mind. It's like, F you, right? So if you want mental clarity, do that for half an hour, and then go and do your homework, and you'll see that you'll do your homework real good. If you want energy to run and outpace someone else and have stamina, that's your trick there. So you run like this. I never go walking around without doing one of these, or all of them. You know, people will see me every day. I'm walking barefoot every day, and they see me walking around, and I'm walking. I don't make it obvious. I'm not walking around like, oh, look at me, yoga. Oh, I just walk like that, and I always hold one of those fingers, depending on what I need to stabilize. Am I nervous and fearful today? Well, I better get my mind settled. and my emotions. Maybe I'll put 2 fingers there. Maybe I'm not grounded enough. Maybe I'll put a 3rd finger there. And I'll leave this one out. Why? Because I don't want to energize and go against these 3, what I'm trying to establish here. Right? So I don't want energy. I want to be calm. So leave that finger out. But if you're tired in the morning, all right, just do that while you're stretching. You stretch your arms, hold that. Immediately fire, you'll be fired up. And then you go like that and you stretch. We know about these nice stretches. These 2 in particular, the best thing you can do in the morning. You push out and you release all that stagnant energy, but you do that. Why just do it open-handed? Why don't you just create a short circuit? There'll be more electricity than now. Now it's channeled. Now it's not short circuit, closed circuit. I said the wrong thing there. So yeah, closed circuit now. You've got stretching, releasing the energy, and bringing energy in because you're doing that. Just a simple hack. Oh, but when they see when the Christians see the yoga people, chanting like Om, they think, oh man, these guys are worshipping the devil. Christianity doesn't teach all that. But are they really? When scientists have found out that if you say Om, if you hum, they say humming produces more nitric oxide, nitric oxide, which is what you get when you breathe through your nose, right? So if you breathe through your nose, you are energizing yourself. If you breathe with your mouth, you stay alive, but you're not putting nitric oxide, which is fuel, into your body. But scientists have discovered that by humming, you can produce millions, not thousands, millions of times more nitric oxide than breathing through your nose. So those Om, woo-woo people, they're the ones that are getting all the energy and the nitric oxide and the healing, and they look healed. And the people criticize them are taking 49 pills, one for their piles, one for their diabetes, one for their arthritis, one for their heart disease, one for their stupidity, one for their dementia, another one for their Alzheimer's, another one for their ugliness. And these beautiful people who are chanting Om are filling their life with electromagnetic energy. You see how stupid these divided people are in these religions? They're clowns. It's sad.
One thing I want to ask you, because you've talked a bit about sort of micro-wise, if you're born in these months or you're part of these star signs, etc. But what about on the macro scale, like the age of Aquarius? How does that have an impact on where things are?
Well, it changes the chart of the world. So you have your own chart, which is called a natal chart, and then there's a thing called the chart of the world, which is called Carta Mundi. So by doing mundane astrology, it's called mundane astrology, the chart of the world, you can ascertain what's going to be coming up in the future. You can see what's going to be happening politically and everything. And I made a video on my school and on my Patreon. Could even be on my YouTube channel because I'm only teaching in the private these days. But back in January and December of last year, when Saturn and Neptune were entering Aries, there was going to be a big reset, and I said that wars and things would happen, and that's exactly what happened. The Iran war started, and it really, really got fired up. So every single thing that I saw through the mundane astrology transpired and is still transpiring. And I mean, I do it every day. I look at the chart, the mundane chart, and I can see where we're going. And I made a lot of comments about what Neptune and Aries and Saturn will do in Aries, the reset sign. 0 degrees Aries, very, 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 very uncommon. It only happens once every 800 years. The last time it happened was in the Third Crusade, right? And then what else happened was that Uranus entered Gemini around the same time. And then we've got Pluto in Aquarius, and now we've got Jupiter in Leo, and they're all making what's called a basket. They're all sextiling each other. They're all 60 degrees away from each other. So you're telling me that Neptune, Uranus and Pluto, the three outer planets, they're all sextiling, and Jupiter, the demiurge, Jupiter, Zeus, Jesus. It's funny, because Saturn is the only one out of this picture. But you've got the three big boys, Pluto, Uranus and Neptune, all sextiling each other, and now, for a brief time, a month or two, with Jupiter. This is called a basket. This started, I believe, around the 19th of this month, 10 days ago. Right, so we're in July, today is the 29th of July, right? So, but it's still going, this basket. And look around you. Do you see the world changing and your understanding and perception of the world shifting or not?
I've heard though that you mentioned Jupiter is Jesus, etc. I've heard that Saturn is the evil planet. It's the one that is sending. Well, according to David Icke, anyway, it's the one that is projecting evil through the universe or through our solar system or galaxy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're right, but they're just describing, they're not explaining. It needs to be explained why. Why is Saturn evil? And why is Jupiter benefic? Saturn is malefic, malefic meaning bad, and Jupiter is benefic, Jupiter, Zeus, Jesus. So Saturn is Satan and Jupiter is Jesus, right? So why? Don't just describe that and put it out there. You have to understand. So what you think is malefic sometimes can be benefic and vice versa, right? So what the elites are doing is they are harvesting the negative energy of the negative side of Saturn, because Saturn can't just be evil.
Based on everything needs a positive and negative side, the dualism or complete.
Like a coin, it's got heads and tails, all right? It's just different frequencies, right? So Saturn's light is always associated with red and black. Satan, the devil, is red and he's dark, black. And Jesus is always white, Jupiter, and blue. Sometimes you'll see red and blue coming from Jesus of the Sacred Heart. If you look up in your images and punch in your browser Jesus of the Sacred Heart, you will see the red shift, blue shift coming from his heart, right? But mostly he's riding a white horse, he's the white one, and Saturn's the dark one. You know, like Luke Skywalker and his daddy, Darth Vader, right? Now, it's the same story. Luke Skywalker, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, Lucy being the sun, Lucifer, the light bearer, Luke being the sun, and Saturn being Darth Vader, black, right? So, but what's the flip side of Saturn then? If we simplify things and make Saturn a coin with heads and tails. Well, Saturn will give you hard lessons, and you need hard lessons. Oh yes, sweetheart, everyone needs hard lessons. Jupiter doesn't do that. Jupiter gives you money, wealth, and luck, and he makes you jovial, like Sagittarians and Pisceans. They're always jovial. They're very Jupiterian, right? You can't just have that. You can't just have all this fun and everything works. And if you don't have obstacles, if you don't have tasks and attrition and abrasion in your life, you won't get things done. We need both of them. We need all of them. It's all perfect. It's all what they call God's order. He has ordered the world. The seasons always come around the same time every year. The sun always sets in the west, rises in the east. All these things are ordered. There's no disorder. Like, just imagine if you watch, one day was 5 minutes fast and the next day it was 5 minutes slow, and you've got to keep correcting it. And you go, Jesus, this Rolex watch, which cost me $4 million, collector's item, is just going fast and slow, and then it's slow. No, it has to be right on. Otherwise, you bring it back to that guy and you say, you give me that $4 million, I'm going to buy me a Ferrari. Up yours with your frickin' watch. So if God puts all these planets around the place and everything, and they're all going, crashing into each other and everything like that, well, how much stability are we going to have here on the Earth? How can we walk straight if the Earth's flying around and orbiting and rotating and flying at 183,000 Mach? Where's the vibration? Where's the shuddering of the Earth? Well, the Bible tells you, and all the scriptures tell you, and all science tells you, and every experiment tells you that the Earth is stationary. It doesn't move.
The arguments on both sides of this are super interesting. Obviously, with the firmament and flat Earth, and the fact that the I think it's heliocentric nature, where the stars don't even move. But then on the flip side, to argue the point of station you should feel it moving. If you're on a train at 300 miles an hour, you can walk on the train and you feel like you're walking the same speed. So from science to the more historic, and as you I think said on your channel, only 500 years ago, or even less than that, all of the historic beliefs were that the Earth was flat. Why do you think there was the change, and now a lot of people are reverting back to the flat Earth model?
Because it's so obvious, they're waking up, right? 400 years ago, in 1542, the Jesuits were founded. But before that, they had to create a model to contain humanity in a prison planet. Rather than an infinite plane, which is what we're living on, they said, we're living on a globe. And a guy called Nicholas Copernicus came up with that stupid idea. And he said that it's rotating, that explains day and night, and it's orbiting and around the sun, and that explains all the seasons. There you go. And he wrote this shitty little Jesuit book because he was a Jesuit, and the Jesuits are the globalists who are behind global warming, global agenda, global lockdowns, global community, global finance, global economy, global community, global, and they don't even got a globe. They know, the elites know, that we live on a flat, stationary Earth. Pilots, all the pilots, they all know that it's flat and stationary. right? They are trained. They are trained pilots based on a non-moving, non-rotating Earth, a stationary Earth. Why? Why would you train your child with square training wheels, and then, when he's learned how to ride with square training wheels, well, then you put circle ones, and then, oh wow, this is smoother. Oh, great. So why would you train? All pilots get trained. All of their books, all the NASA books, everything that tell you that the Earth is stationary and flat, and that's how you are trained. And then when they give you your license, they say, well, it's a globe. So we trained you on a stationary Earth, and all the manuals, it's all stationary, non-rotating Earth, period, everywhere. NASA, everywhere. You can't argue this. It's already, it's like the Epstein files. It's out. We can't go back to the ignorant days and say, oh, well, we've got pictures of the globe, haven't we? No, we haven't got pictures. We've only got computer-generated pictures. There's no photos of the Earth.
There's not one. There's not even one, is there?
There's not one.
No.
And I offered 10,000 once, about 5 years ago. I said, I'll give anyone $10,000 if they can produce one photo of the Earth, the whole Earth. One photo, just a photo. And no one got the $10,000 because they couldn't do it. Just like Einstein said, we can't prove the Earth is moving. There is no experiment in history, there is no experiment that can prove that the Earth is moving, and yet the Earth moves. So he just contradicted himself. And then he says, and yet the Earth moves. You see, he was a Jesuit. They needed the Earth to move so that people would be slaves because time would be linear. Time is not linear. It's cyclical. The day is a circle. It's not going that way. One day goes around like this, the next day goes around like this, next day goes around like this, and time is doing this. It's not going over there. It's not moving.
Is that why the UN has the flat Earth as their flag? And also, if you look at flight path, is that why, on a globe model, it seems that the aeroplanes go up, side, and down, versus on the flat Earth, it's a direct path as the crow flies? Is that reasons, or is that evidence as well?
Oh, there's infinite evidence. There is not one fraction. I'm even going less than one here, subatomic. I'm going sub one. There is not even a fractal of anything, anywhere, scientific or other, at all, in support of a globe Earth. Nothing. And yet we flat earthers, we have millions and millions and millions, going back millions of years. But for the last 400 years, we've been globalists and people want to buy it. How stupid can you be to think that this Earth is moving anywhere? This is stationary shit. You have to be a fucking retard, absolutely stupid and pathetic. It's ridiculous to even think that we're living on a globe. So I grew up in Australia upside down, did I? I didn't notice any gravitational change when I moved to Mexico. Shouldn't have I had lead boots there to hold me up? Like the shipping containers, how do they get to Melbourne from London? How does gravity suck a shipping container, but the butterfly flying around the top of the ship and the birds, they don't get sucked down, but 100 million tons of steel with containers is sucked up by a theory called gravity. Why has gravity not been upgraded to a fact?
So do you think it's
Isaac
based
Newton's
on
gravity.
density then? It's density as opposed to gravity,
No,
i.e. the heavier things are, and helium rises because it's lighter than air, so it's more to do with density as opposed to gravity, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Or gravitation. Gravitation is a fact. Gravity is a theory. There are only two forces in the universe. Check out the works of all the greats, Schalberger, Walter Russell, Tesla, radiation and gravitation. So Newton, what was he smoking? He started a theory, the theory of gravity, and it's still a freaking theory. Oh, don't we have enough technology to upgrade it to a fact? You remember 6 years ago there were all these scientists that they were clapping? You know, they made history and they said, we found gravity. Over there, 16 trillion light years away, next to the thing over there, next to the other thing, behind the thing, over there, and we found it, and it's provable, and it's over there. And gravity now is a fact. They tried to make it a fact yesterday, but 6 or 7 years ago. It was so laughable, because they can't do it here. It's still a theory. So this body of scientists, they said they found gravity over in planet Gazubalibub, way over there. So it exists. It's a fact now. But still it hasn't been upgraded, because I checked Wikipedia and it's still a theory. Funny. Which only proves that we should not be slaves of time. We are living in the present. They took us away from the present. If you know that you're living on a stationary plane and we're not to believe.
I didn't get the last 5 or 6 seconds there. It froze out.
Yeah, so if we know that we're living on a stationary, solid earth that's not going anywhere, then we'll understand that we don't have to wait for present. We won't have to fight and kill because time is against us. You know, America's military has to grow because otherwise China will expand and China will be the leaders. Oh yeah, but what about Russia? Yes, but Israel wants to be, Europe now wants to be, everyone wants to be the boss of the world. Everyone wants to be stronger. Let's raise our military. Let's fight. And there's wars everywhere and everything because of the Jesuit globe.
So
It's all evil on this earth is because people believe they live on a globe and they're flying out of space.
So to finish off, because I know you're a busy man and you said you're limited on time. What's another thing they're lying about? What's another one that you think? Do you know what? They've been lying, and this is having a massive impact on the world.
Oh, everything. The diet, the human is fruitarian, provably. Your body works 100% perfectly, your digestion, bowel movements, eyes, everything works perfectly. My body works perfectly, and I've been eating fruit for 20 years. And I'm 63, right? Diet. Religion. They're teaching you that you have to wait for... Where do you come from? What's your background? Muslim or Indian or...
No, yeah, obviously I'm British, but Sikh, Punjabi.
Yeah, okay, so India. So the Sikhs, everyone's got a Messiah. The Jews have got a Meshach, Christians have got Messiah, the Muslims have got Mahdi, the Buddhists have got Maitreya. Funny how they all start with M. Well, that's you. That's the biggest lie. No, I would say that's the biggest lie, not the globe. The biggest lie is that they're telling you that the story written in the book and whatever he did, this guy, we've got to do that and believe in that and we will be saved and we have to wait for him to come to save us. That is the most detrimental lie by far. The second most evil is to make the earth move, which obviously it doesn't. It's not moving. It's still here. And your argument about sometimes when you're in a plane and you're flying and it feels like you're not moving until the wind starts doing this, right? It's not a valid argument at all. Because scientists are always warning us that we're coming into spatial storms and comets, and we are under the threat of comets. And there's a rough patch coming after 2030 where, where it's going to be, things are going to be coming at us from all over the place. Well, shouldn't the earth be shaking? I've never felt it shake, except for an earthquake or two. Apart from that, it's dead, 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 dead still. You can't get more still than dead still. It's still. In fact, there's an Italian scientist who invented a seismic machine that would register the movement of 1/10 of a millimeter of the Earth. Right? 1/10 of a millimeter. If the Earth moves 1/10 of a millimeter, this seismic machine the alarm bells will go ding, 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 ding. So far it hasn't. That machine has not gone off because the Earth hasn't moved. Not a millimeter. Never will, never has. When has it moved? And if we're moving, why aren't the stars that we're moving toward at 183,000 times the speed of sound? Why aren't they getting brighter? And why aren't those ones we're leaving behind? Why don't they disappear? We should be seeing new stars every day if we're flying at 183,000 Mach. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Santos is, what's he smoking? Where does he get 183,000 Mach? Well, I'm the one laughing because you didn't read your retarded Copernican Jesuit globe theory, idiot. I'm talking to everybody, not you. The person who wants to argue for a moving Earth, a potato head, a dunce. So how do you get 183,000 Mach, Mr. Santos? Well, I read Copernicus's book, and there are 4 movements that the Earth is involved in, not 2. See, you globetards, all of you only know about the rotation of the Earth on its axis, because you're retarded, and you know that you were taught that the Earth goes around the sun. Well, that's, again, really retarded. The sun's obviously just doing circles over the Earth. And you believe that creates the year, and the speed of that is 66,600 miles an hour. So where do you, Santos, where do you get your 183, mark this down, listeners, please mark this down, 183,000 times the speed of sound the Earth is flying. You see, because you globetards, you didn't read the book. You just believed in a fart. The third movement of the Earth is that the Earth, the sun that we're orbiting around, the sun is actually orbiting the center of the Milky Way galaxy. That's in Copernicus. That's what the Jesuits teach in their Big Bang Theory. Then the Milky Way galaxy is flying at 650,000 miles an hour around the central sun of the universe. So that's 4 motions. When you add all those motions together, you get the speed of 160,000 miles an hour, which is 183,000 Mach. It's impossible. This wouldn't exist. This would deatomize instantly. It's dead still. All right, brother. Much love.
Thank you very much for your time and great chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Do it again sometime.
100%.
Take care. Bye-bye.